Hi, first graders. We are going to keep talking about how to add 2-digit and 1-digit numbers together. So we are looking at combining the ones and doing something called regrouping, or you might have heard me call this exchange before. So I want to go through some of the workbook pages with you that we would have done in class together and show you some of the ways that you can add 2-digit and 1-digit numbers together and regroup those numbers that are in the ones place. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen and we're going to go through some of those pages together. Alrighty, so here's our first question today. Malia picks 47 apples from the tree. She gets 5 apples from the ground. How many apples does Malia have now? So the first thing that we would want to do, and this is what we do anytime we're reading a new problem, is we have to look and we have to find some of the important information, okay? So we are going to look for some of that important information. We know that numbers are typically a pretty important part of the math problem. So I see 47 as an important part of the problem, and then I see the number 5. Those are two numbers that I know I'm going to have to work with throughout this problem. The other thing that I need to figure out for this problem is whether this is going to be an addition problem or a subtraction problem. So I'm going to read it again, and I'm going to see if I can figure out if this is adding or if this is subtracting. Malia picks 47 apples from the tree. She gets 5 apples from the ground. How many apples does Malia have? Well, it sounds like she gets some from the tree and some from the ground. So it sounds to me like she's combining those two groups of apples. And when we combine things, we are doing an addition problem. So for this problem, this is going to be an adding problem. So we are going to be adding together 47 plus 5. For this problem, I'm going to do this using tens and ones. So I have these tens and ones here, and I'm going to pull some of these over to the side here to get the numbers for our problem. The first part of the problem that we said was important was the number 47, and that was the number of apples she got from the tree. So I want you to count these by 10, okay? Start with 10 in your head. Here we go. 10, 20, 30, 40. Okay, I'm going to stop there because I see a number 4 in my tens place, and when I see the 4 in the tens place, I know that I'm going to need 4 tens to represent that place value. The number in the ones place shows 7, so I'm going to need to pull over 7 cubes. I'm going to do this an easy way and combine all these guys like this and drag them over. That was 2, 4, 6. I need one more to make it 7. Okay, so that is the first number of apples that she had. 10, 20, 30, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47. That's the number of apples that Malia picked from the tree. Then she went and she got 5 more apples from the tree. So I'm going to grab 5 more cubes. I cannot grab a 10 because I don't have enough to make it a 10. All I have right now is 5 from the second group. We are combining these together. We are adding 47 plus 5. So what we're going to do here is we are going to start by combining whatever's in the ones place. And if we end up seeing that there are too many ones in the ones place, then we will have to do a regroup or an exchange and turn those into a 10 instead. So all of these ones, I'm going to take all of these ones and I'm going to put them all together here. Okay, and I'm going to try to line them up here like a 10 frame, and then I'm going to count by 2s, and I'm going to separate when I get to 10, okay? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. So these 2 are going to be extras, but if you notice right here, these ones are set up in a 10 frame, and since they filled up all 10 spaces of the 10 frame, that means that what we need to do is exchange those cubes for a long. So I am going to kind of just cross these out here, and instead of having those, we are going to replace them with a long. Okay, so now all of those all of those ones that we had, we are deleting those and we are exchanging for this long instead. Okay, so now we've exchanged those and we can add this long over into the tens place, because when it's a 10, it belongs with all of the other tens. And then all we have left in our ones is 2. So we have added the problem together now. So what we can do now is go back and count through the problem, counting by tens, and then adding 2 more, counting on by ones when we get there. Okay, so let's start with 10 in our head. Here we go. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, count on, 51, 52. So the answer to this problem, the answer to 47 plus, it was an addition problem, 5 more, the ones she found on the ground, added up to be 52 apples altogether. Alrighty, so that was our first problem in this of the workbook pages today. Let's take a look at the next page. So they're using, in the next page here, they're going to actually look at the same problem we just looked at. But what they're going to do is show you how you can do this problem by setting it up, by stacking it on top of each other. And this is one of those things that I have talked to you a little bit about, is stacking things up on top of each other. You might remember me saying that we're going to stack these up like bunk beds. You have to put them right on top of each other. And what do you notice about the ones place? The numbers that they have in red right here. It's super important that you do this when you're setting a problem up on top of each other. And they've lined it up. You have to make sure that your ones place is lined up and your tens place is lined up. That's really important when you're setting up these problems. So what they did is they added together all the ones, just like we did on the last page when I had the tens and ones, and I moved all of the ones together, and we ended up having 12 ones. And what we did is, once we saw that this was a 12, we knew that we had to move one of those tens over into the tens place, okay? So what they've done here is just added up the ones place first. When we're doing these problems, we're gonna start with the ones first, because if there is a problem where you are going to have to regroup, then you have to know that before you're adding the tens. You have to start in the ones place first. So that's what they've done here, is they've said 7 plus 5 equals 12. And then the 4 plus nothing still equals 4, okay? It's almost like right here in the tens, there's like an imaginary 0. 4 plus 0, 4. They just carried the 4 all the way down to the bottom, okay? Remember that this straight line across here is symbolizing your equal sign. So it's the same as if you had set up your problem and you drew an equal sign like this. It's the same thing, but they're just using this straight line here. That is a symbol for an equal sign, okay? So now that we have 4 tens plus 12 ones, what they're doing here is they're just gonna add it together like this. We can count on 4 groups of 10 if we wanted to just add tens to any number. That was a lesson you did last week, adding tens to any number. So one way we could do this is we could start with 12 in our head, and then we could add tens from there. So you would count on 4 groups of 10. So it would be something like this: 12, and then counting on by groups of 10. 22, 32, 42, 52. So they added 40 plus 12 equals 52. So the answer to the original problem, which was 47 apples on the tree and 5 apples fell to the ground, that was the same as we got on the last page, 52 apples. And then remember, you always want to re-answer the question. Malia has 52 apples. That's quite a lot of apples that she was able to collect. Alrighty, let me try and just clean this up before we move on to the next page here. Okie doke, so let's just try another one. We'll do it in tens and ones over here on the left side of the screen, and then we will stack it like we've learned how to stack numbers on top of each other over here on the right side. So the first thing I want to do is start with tens and ones, okay? So 73 is the first number. This problem doesn't come with any words. This is not a word problem, but we are going to see that 73 is important and 6 is also important. So what I want to start by doing is pulling over 70 in tens and 3 in ones, because I'm looking at the number and I can see that there is a 7 in the tens place and a 3 in the ones place. So that shows me that I need to grab 7 tens and 3 ones to set this problem up correctly. So I'll go ahead and grab those. Let's do 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70. I'll drag those over here to the screen. Okay, I'm gonna just line those all up in a straight line so that I remember 70 over here. And then I'm gonna grab 3 ones to finish out the rest of this problem. Now, we don't have to really be a word detective for this problem because they already are showing you a plus sign, so that makes it easy. We are going to be adding for this problem as well, and we need 6 more. I'm gonna grab these in groups of 2 so that they're set up like a double fact of 3 and 3 equals 6. That helps me remember that when I see that 3 and 3, 6, right away I remember it, okay? So now we can just start by adding up the ones place, because what do we want to figure out? We want to figure out if this is a regrouping problem or not. If we have to regroup the ones, you have to know that before you move into the tens place, because you might have an extra 10 that needs to be included in that problem. Okay, so let's go ahead and move all of these over here and see if we're able to fill up a full 10. I started with 6, 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. So is this a regrouping problem? No, it is not. We do not need to regroup anything. We are just going to combine these two numbers together. It's going to be 9 in the ones place. Okay, so no regrouping needed here. We do not need to carry a new 10 into the problem. All we need to do is add them up. So now we know that we still have 70 because we did not need to add an extra 10 here, plus, let's count them again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So 70 plus 9. These are those problems that should come to your brain very quickly. 70 and 9 is 79. Okay, that should come to your brain pretty quickly. You should be able to add those tens to any number. That's what we were learning about last week. 79 is the answer to this problem. So let's take a look at it over here on the right side of the screen, where we are stacking numbers on top of each other, and then we are stacking the tens place, and we will do the tens place second. We are always going to start right here in the ones place. So adding those numbers together, 6 and 3. You can do this by putting the big number in your head and then counting on 3 more spaces. So I would do this by touching my brain and saying 6, go up 3 times. 7, 8, 9. All right, so in the ones place, we have 9. Now 7 tens plus nothing is how many? It's still 7. And if you can see right here, 7, 9, it's almost the same exact number as what we just got on this side, 79. So 70, which is representing this 7, remember, because that 7 is actually the number 70. It's 7 tens. You have to remember that, okay? And then we're going to add in those 9 ones. 70 plus 9 is, say it quickly, 79. Good job. Okay, so the same problem back to the beginning of our problem, 73 plus 6, 79. And we got that answer by first adding the ones place and then adding the tens place second. All righty, I got a lot to erase here before we move on to the next page. All right, so let's take a look at the next problem. The next problem is 37 plus 7. We're going to do the same thing. We are going to add this using tens and ones on the left side of the screen. Then we're going to add it together by stacking the numbers on top of each other. You'll notice over here that they have done a really good job of making sure that their ones right here are lined up perfectly so that we can see that that is the ones place and the tens place is on the other side. Okay, you have to make sure that you're stacking them up really nicely and neat when you do these problems. Okay, 37 plus 7. Let's go ahead and grab how many tens and how many ones. So take a look at, here's the tens place and here's the ones place. How many, let's start with the tens. How many tens should I grab? 3, which represents the number 30. 10, 20, 30. I'm going to pull those over. 30. The number is 37. How many ones should I grab to fill out the rest of this problem? It says it right here in the ones place, 7. So I'm going to pull over 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I like keeping these kind of stacked up in groups of 2 here, because then it shows me, it's going to help me really see if I have a 10, because it'll be able to show me a whole 10 frame if I can regroup for this problem. Okay, so 37, let's double check. 10, 20, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37. We've got it. Alrighty, then we're gonna add in the next number. This problem is a 2-digit plus a 1-digit. We're gonna add in that second part, which is 7. I'm gonna pull it over again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Perfect. Okay, I'm gonna just draw the symbol here so that I don't forget. We are adding together. So when we are adding, we are going to have to combine our ones first. We're going to start in the ones place. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull these down a little bit further down so that I can see if I'm going to be able to make a 10 here. What I'm going to do is fill in the rest of this to make it a 10 frame. I'm combining my ones. So far, I have 2, 4, 6, 7. I'm going to keep going, counting on. 8, 9, 10. So that has created a full 10 frame here. What I need to do here is, instead of keeping these in groups of in ones like this, I need to do something, and that is going to be an exchange. So I am actually going to get rid of these ones and replace them with a long, okay? But what I want to do with the long, now that it's a 10, it belongs with the other 10s. So I'm going to add him with the group of 10s. You want all your 10s to be together, because if it belongs in the 10s place, it should be with the other 10s. Alrighty, so now we can just add all of our things together. We're done here. We just have to count them out. So let's start with 10 in our head. Here we go. 10, 20, 30, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44. So for our answer for this problem, for 37 plus 7, we came up with 44 using longs and cubes. Let's take a look at stacking them on top of each other. So what they did here is they put their 7s on top of each other, and that is because 7 is in the ones place and 7 is in the ones place. So they've stacked them up right here on top of each other. 7 plus 7, that's a double fact. You should be able to answer that quick. Just like we know 2 plus 2, 3 plus 3, 4 plus 4, 7 plus 7 is 14. Okay, if that's a double fact, I would expect you to be able to answer that one really fast. So we have 14 ones, okay? And then how many 10s? Like I said, if you don't see anything here, you can just kind of imagine a 0. 3 plus nothing is still going to be 3 10s that are left, okay? But I do notice that there's an extra 10 right here that's going to have to join with these 10s place over here in the 3. But we can do this by counting on 10s from any number, just like you learned last week. I'm going to start with 14 in my head, and then I'm going to jump up like this, 10, 20, and 30. I'm going to go up 3 times, but I'm going to be counting by 10s. So this would sound something like this: 14, 24, 34, 44. I jumped up by groups of 10, and I jumped up 3 times, and that got me to the number 44, just like the same number we came up with on this side of the page. So back to the numbers that we started with, 37 plus 7 is 44. All right? Okay, I want to show you one more way that you might be seeing in your iReady lessons of how they are taking these problems apart and doing it through number bonds. So here's an example that I wanted to share with you. So what they've done here is they have an example of 36 plus 8. What they're going to do is they're going to turn each of these numbers into a number bond, and they are going to break them apart. The numbers that you see on the left are going to be the tens place. So this is representing 3. We know that the 3 in the tens place actually means 30. So that's what they've taken apart there. They've broken it down from the 3 is actually a 30, and the 6 can stay at a 6. So they're breaking it down to tens and ones, all right? And then over on the other side, 8, they separated 8 to see if they would be able to come up with a 10. So we know that 6 and 4 are a friend of 10. This is just one way that you can think about breaking these numbers apart. If this seems a little tricky or confusing to you, then you might find another way to solve these problems. But if you like working in number bonds, this could be a way that you could solve this problem. So they've broken down 8 into 4 and 4 because they know their doubles facts, and 4 and 4 is 8. And the reason why they put a 4 right here is because they wanted to create a 10. So 6 plus 4 is equal to 10. Then what they did is they went ahead and added everything together. So they went through and they said, okay, we had a 30 for our 10. Then we were able to create another 10. And then all that they had left over after that was a 4. Okay, so they added it all together. 30 plus 10, that's 40, plus 4 more gets you to 44 right here, okay? Then they added it all together. So this is just one example of how you can break numbers apart, and you can see what numbers you have in the tens place. You can see if there's any way to make a 10. For this one, this is going to be important for you to remember those friends of 10, that poster that we had hanging up in our classroom, where we knew that friends of 10, 6 and 4 are friends of 10, and that is one way that you can add your ones together to see if there's a regrouping problem. Okay, so that is all that I wanted to teach you for today. I know that this is a bit of a tricky lesson, and there's a lot to do and a lot to learn. So it is really important that you're getting on to iReady this week and really trying your best on some of those lessons that I've assigned to you. And hopefully it's starting to make sense that when you have all of those ones, like we talked about in my lesson the other day, when you've got all these ones here, we're going to combine all these ones together, and hopefully if you have enough to make a 10, you'll be able to regroup, okay? So just be remembering that when you get to 10 in the ones place, you have to regroup that into a new 10 and do an exchange. I hope you all are having a great day, and I hope that you get on and do some of your iReady math to help you continue learning about how to add 2-digit and 1-digit numbers. Bye.